Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Vinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayiniim Bhatvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshiniim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramarutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayantiyam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita tadgatena manasa Pashyanti yam yoginaha Yasyantanna vidussura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Om Narayana Paro Vyaktat Andam Avyaya Sambhavam Andasyantastvime Lokaha Saptadvipa cha medini Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajñavadamscha bhashase Gatasuna gatasumscha Nanushocanti panditaha We saw all the arguments about the gain of this knowledge and how many people think that this knowledge must need something else in addition for one to become enlightened. Or if not enlightened, at least lightened of the burden of thinking I am as good as the body, I am as good as the mind. There is this orientation that I have to do something, and we saw that refuted generally by Adi Shankara and refuted in particular by taking the words of the Bhagavad Gita and using them as weapons against these Jnana Karma Samuchayavadin, the one who espouses this Jnana Karma Samuchaya. So karma is not at all necessary because the problem is cognitive, and so the solution is also what? Cognitive. It cannot, you can't have a cognitive problem and a solution that has to be based on action. That is just not possible. So now we can look at the verse itself. Na shoka yogyaha ashocyaha tan ashocyan. So that which is not worthy of being sad about. So this is a very interesting term, ashocya. Two things stand out. First, the Gita is telling me what to be sad about and what to not be sad about. Who is the Gita to tell me? And supposing somebody tells you, don't be sad about these things. This is not legitimate. Will the heart listen? No, because the crying one will still be crying. So what is the meaning of this very cryptic verse with which we start the teachings? That is one thing to look into. And the second thing is which has intrigued Anandagiri. Anandagiri is the Tikakara. Who is Tikakara? Tika means small notes over the Bhashya. And so, Bhashyakara, Adi Shankara. So Adi Shankara's commentary itself has a small baby commentary called Tika. So critical notes. And so there he brings up, either there or somewhere else, he brings up the fact that this is a very interesting thing, that we are starting the teaching on a negative note. Ashocya. Not legitimate to be grieved over. So the not comes first. So it's a negative pratyaya called nanj. Nanj pratyaya, negative, like shochya, ashochya. The is a negative particle. So the negative particle, how can the teaching start on a negative note? It should start on a positive note. Negative is ashubha. This is true actually. So that's why we don't, even while giving names, we are very careful. We don't give names generally like Amala for a girl. Amala means not dirty. Why to give her a name saying you are not dirty instead of saying what? You are clean, you are purity itself. No, but many people, they do this. Nirmala, Amala, like this. We generally avoid names like that in the Shastra. And Pujya Swamiji was very, very careful to not give negative names to any of the Swamis. The only exception is Advayananda, because you can't do anything about that. That's only taught through negation. So Advayananda is okay. And the other two exceptions, Aparokshananda. So those are the only two exceptions. Otherwise, there are 250 sannyasis and 50 plus, and you will not find a single negative name. So the negative name and the negative particle usually brings with it the word no. Correct? It's a word of resistance, it's a word of inauspiciousness. So now there is a stay order. You can't study the Gita. Why? Because it begins on the negative note. But this is very easily refuted by seeing the continuation of what we saw in our Upanishad class. The first portion of the Veda and the second portion of the Veda with its focuses, with its different focus. The first portion of the Veda is called Pravrityatmakam Shastram, a teaching that is in form of going forward, reaching out, grabbing, getting, doing, interacting, acting. And the second portion of the Veda is what is called Nivrityatmakam Shastram. Nivrityatmakam means withdrawing, negating, because the teaching itself is 9/10 negation. You are not an idiot. You are not the body. You are not the mind. You are not the senses. Whatever you think you are not. This is how it is. And what is that Nivrityatmakam Shastram, also known as Neti Neti, Na iti na iti. And therefore, the Atma is as much taught by the pedagogy of negation as it is taught by the pedagogy of affirmation. Pedagogy means methodology. So therefore, Ashocyan is in keeping with this, because it is part of the Neti Neti methodology. Now, you cannot grieve over this, is not worthy of grief. But what are we talking of that's not worthy of grief? The death of stalwarts such as Bhishma and Drona is not worthy of grief. What are you talking about, Krishna? Arjuna might well say, what are you talking about? That they are not worthy of grief. The world, I am the one trying to kill them, and because of me this war. And if they die, how will I be alive? Remember everything that was said in the first chapter. And what do you mean it's not worthy of grief? How is that even possible that it's not worthy of grief? And therefore, we have to first find out is two things. One is, where is the source of this grief? Only two sources the grief can have: Atma and Anatma. Anatma means not I. So if I am the source of grief, then I should be sad all the time, correct? If I am the source of grief, everyone should come like this to class. So sad. And actually, then it will not be a problem, because we'll all be living our own true nature. We'll be happy being sad. Because that's all we know and that's what we are. Are we happy being sad? Not for a second we are happy being sad. We don't ever want to be sad. And so therefore that's not an option. So that itself refutes the point that the I, the sorrow is centered on I, Atma. Then what other paksha is left? Sorrow is centered on not I. What is not I? Everything. Starting with this body, mind, sense complex, not I. This jagat, not I. So many things in this jagat, not I, not I, not I. Yes, this sounds correct. The sorrow is centered on not I. Meaning what? If I go out into the jagat, I am immediately sad. Is that true? No. You are not immediately sad. Even if you are supposed to attend a funeral, imagine. Let's say you are supposed to attend a funeral of some colleague or something. You have to go with a sad face. You have to show that you care. Some office person. And just before that you have won the lottery. Try going to the funeral and keeping a straight face. Inside you have full knowledge that you don't have to, even this job you can kick off starting tomorrow. You can give notice. You don't need this job. You have gobs and gobs of money. You have so much money. You can feed your seventh generation great grandchildren. You can feed with how much money you will have. So therefore, you are standing there and they are saying good things about this person who has died, and they are all sad. And then you know this is anatma, right? The funeral is what? Atma or anatma? Anatma. So if anatma is the cause of sorrow, you should pick it up. But you don't pick it up. In fact, you are working very hard not to grin and have a big silly smile plastered on your face. You are working very hard not to do that. That means what? It's not catching. Sorrow is not catching. So similarly, so it is neither within nor without. Then where is this sorrow? It's not centered on Atma. It's not centered on Anatma. Where is this? Ashojya. Grief is illegitimate. This is the basis on which Bhagavan Krishna says grief is never legitimate. Because the legitimacy that I give to grief, just like Arjuna, what is he saying? Oh, these loved ones will die, and what shall I do with the kingdom? What shall I do with all this? that legitimacy is a subjective error. It's an error. I'm legitimizing the grief, it's a subjective error. Because who is to say? Because certain things everybody is sad, like death, universal sadness. But again, it's an error. And that's what is going to be told to us in the coming verses. Death is not an end. And if I see death as an end, it is the end of my studies. That is what it is. So therefore, I have to change that. I have to change that orientation. Ashocyan anvashochastvam. You are grieving over that which is illegitimate. It's not legitimate. Why? Because you are not the cause of the death of Drona, Bhishma, etc. They have come to this situation because of the abuse of their free will and because of the wrong decisions made. And so they are responsible for this war. You have to defend yourself. You did not ask for this war. It came in your lap. It came and fell in your lap. You have to make the best of this situation. So therefore, grief here is not called for. Uncalled for. When is grief called for? Grief is never called for. If it's not called for during time of death, then it is never called for. Because death is seen as the universal grief maker, but then here that itself is questioned. Why? Because the death itself is questioned. That death is an end is going to be questioned very soon, starting the next verse. And then death, first of all, death is the end. We have to see whether the death is an end or not. Secondly, that death should cause grief. That also we have to see. And why so much focus on death? Because that is where Arjuna's grief is stuck, and that is what needs to be repaired. And also it is called the discussion on death, so much that we will encounter in the second chapter, is based on a logic called Prathama Malla Nyaya. Malla, wrestler. Prathama Malla, champion wrestler. And this champion wrestler is the reigning champion of the village. If you want to become the champion, what do you have to do? Defeat the reigning champion. You don't have to fight with each and every competitor. Correct? You just have to knock off the one who says, I am a champion now. That person you knock off, and then you are the champion. So similarly here, the worst of the worst of the worst sorrows is because of what? Death. So death is the wrestler here, reigning champion. You knock that off, and all the other small competitors, every other small sorrow goes away. Everything goes away in the wake of this analysis. So ashocyan anvashochastvam. You are simply legitimizing a grief that does not have legitimacy. It has no legitimacy, yet you are saying this is valid. It is not valid. Why? Because these people who are standing in front of you in the battlefield, they are not dying. What is dying then? Body is dying. Nama Rupa is dying. Name and form called Drona, name and form called, what was his other fellow's name? Bhishma, they are dying. Name and form are dying. They are not subject to death. And this is what we have to know about the Atma. This is what he will tell. Let us look at, with these words, let's look at the Bhashya for this verse. had it somewhere, 1 second. Yes. Na shocyaha ashocyaha. That which is not legitimate, that which is not deserving grief is called ashocyaha. What is that? What is that which does not require grief? Bhishmadronadayaha sadvrittatvat paramartha rupena cha nityatvat. Two reasons why these people should not be grieved over, such as Bhishma, Drona and whoever else. Why? Because sadvrittatvat, because they are dharmic people. Except for this one act of joining the wrong side, they have generally been very dharmic people. So what if they are dharmic people? Why shouldn't I grieve? Because the first portion of the Veda, what does it say? They will go to Pitraloka, they will go to Brahmaloka, they will go somewhere and live happily for quite some time. So there is no need to grieve because of their dharmic nature. No grief will befall them. So why are you grieving over something that doesn't require any grief at all? You are thinking they need your grief, but they do not need your grief for two reasons. One is they are of sadvritti, good conduct. Good conduct means lots of punya, dharmic people. And so after death, where will all the dharmic people go? To good lokas, to enjoy. So why are you crying? They are enjoying over there and you are crying. This is very strange. And the second reason Adi Shankara gives why grief is not legitimate is paramarthataha. From the standpoint of the absolute reality, they are absolutely not dead. Because what are they? Atma. Does the Atma die? No, never. The I does not die. Atma never dies, and so paramarthataha paramartha rupena cha. Why? Nityatvat. The Atma being eternal, the Atma being immutable, the Atma being changeless. There is no death here. So tan ashocyan anvashochaha anushocitavan asi. So you grieve over them. You are grieving in accordance to what you think should be the correct response. And then, what does that sob story look like? Te mriyante man nimittam aham taihi vina bhutah kim karishyami rajya sukhadina iti. So how are you grieving? You are grieving in accordance to a wrong idea that they are subject to destruction, and the grief looks like this. Te mriyante mama nimittam man nimittam mat nimittam, meaning because of me they are going to die. Te mriyante, te means they all are going to die. Mriyante, they are all dying. Why are they dying? Because of me. Why? Because I am the one who is holding the arrows. I am the commander in chief. I am the one giving orders. And even if I don't give orders to kill them, what might happen? A stray arrow is all it takes. Poison tipped stray arrow, and then it will take them out. And then who will be at fault? Myself. And then that is myself as bhokta, myself as karta. First one, myself as karta. You see, anushochitavan asi te mriyante mat nimittam. Because of my actions they are going to die. Meaning what? Here the sorrow is centered on the status of himself as an actor. Who is himself? Arjuna. Arjuna is seeing himself as an actor, as the one who is wielding the sword or the arrow or the bow or whatever it is, and because he is seeing himself as an actor, he is now subject to grief. Kartritvam gives grief. And then the next line, the next thing he says is that aham taihi vina. Aham taihi vina means without them what will I do? Kim karishyami. Taihi vina bhutah. Vina bhutah means being the one without them. What will I do? What will I do? How will I live? Katham jivami? How will I live? What will I do? How indeed will I live? And then Rajya Sukhadina, meaning without them, what is the use of Rajya? What is the use of Sukha? What is the use of kingdom? What is the use of having an unrivaled kingdom? What is the use of happiness? Why? Because I cannot be happy without them. So here he is defining himself as what? Bhokta. Bhokta also is a sad story. When you say I am Bhokta, then you are subject to hurt. When you say I am Karta, you are subject to guilt. Guilt, hurt, alternating cycles in the life. Now guilty, now hurty. And in life also, Bhagavan makes the match where the guilty one marries the hurt one. And it's a very interesting marriage because the guilty one keeps apologizing, and no matter how much she apologizes, it's never enough for the hurt one. And so they continue. So here, guilt and hurt are both described as cause of sorrow. Both of them have been delegitimized. They do not have even one leg to stand on. Te mriyante, mama nimittam, mat nimittam mriyante. They are all going to die because of me. Wrong. They are not dying because of you. They are dying because of some rotten decisions they make. Even now they can cross over to your side and be with you. But no, they have chosen in a split second of delusion, they have gone to the other side. They made a choice. You didn't push them to the other side. So why are you taking on something that is nothing at all to do with you? Absolutely nothing to do with you. This is one cause of sorrow. This is again illegitimate because kartritva buddhi itself is illegitimate. Karta doesn't touch Atma. Karta is a status, a mithya status superimposed upon the Satya Atma. Mithya means it's a dependent status. It's an as though status superimposed, as it were, upon the I that is free from do-worship. But here he has taken on the mantle of do-worship, and his shoulders are paining, drooping, and he says, I can't shoulder these burdens, and because of me they are going to die, and then I won't be happy forever. Why? Because each time I enjoy the kingdom, all the bad things that I did will come to mind. He is suffering from Lady Macbeth syndrome. Yeah, what did Lady Macbeth do? She engineered the death of her brother-in-law so that her husband could ascend the throne and become the king. Having done that, then she went mad. She could not handle the guilt. She was seen going around like this in the palace corridors all night long, like a ghost, saying, out, 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 damn spot. She thought each time she looked at her hands, she saw them full of blood, her own guilt. So this way Arjuna also is coming close to saying, Kim no rajyena Govinda, we heard him say, Kim bhogaihi, kim jivitena va, how to live, how to enjoy this. So this is the prasada of kartritva buddhi. So the next time one is sad, it behooves one to see the source of this sadness. Is it coming from kartritva buddhi, a do-worship attack, karta attack, or is it coming from, oh, woe is me, poor me, bhokta attack? So here very beautifully the second one is also talked about. What is the second one? Aham taihi vina kim karishyami. I can't enjoy, I can't be without them. That means what? I am a bhokta, and because I am a bhokta, what will happen? I will be sad all the time. And then further, tvam pragyavatam buddhimatam vadancha vachanani cha bhashase. You are exhibiting all the speech of wise people. But then Tad etad maudhyam pandityam cha viruddham atmani darshayasi. You are showing an impossible combination of what? Maudhyam, foolishness, pandityam, wisdom. Can foolishness and wisdom abide in the same person? No, but you have managed the impossible, Arjuna. Somehow you have managed to embody foolishness because you are acting foolishly and you are speaking wisely. You talk, you have lofty talks about the survival of the Sanatana Dharma. You have lofty talks about war, about diplomacy, about death. There is not even a single topic that you cannot be conversant about. But then at the same time, you had a panic attack and then you sunk to the bottom of the chariot. The Gandiva slipped from your hand, your bow, you're supposed to be a warrior ready to fight, and here your bow is somewhere else. You kept your bow and then what? It just got somewhere, it just went away somewhere, and you don't even know where your bow is, and then it has slipped from your hand and gone away, and your arrows are somewhere else, scattered in the wind perhaps. And here you are sitting there exhibiting very surprisingly, you are exhibiting the paradoxic natures of what? Maudhyam, foolishness, utter delusion and foolishness, and pandityam, wisdom. How can the two abide in the same being simultaneously? I don't know, Arjuna. But somehow you have managed the impossible. How? Because of Maya. Maya means Atma Ajnanam here. Atma Ajnanam, Maya, what does it do? Aghatita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. You make the impossible possible. This is what it is. So here, foolishness and wisdom cannot abide in the same heart, but somehow that's what you are doing. Needless to say, it is utterly confusing. So, yasmat means because, this is what you need to know. Gatasun, gatapranan mritan, agatasun, agatapranan jivatascha, na anushocanti panditaha atmajnaha. If you truly want to slough off, to drop off that foolishness, your dullness of thinking, your wrong thinking, what do you need to know? You need to know how the wise people think. How does the wise person think? Because the wise person does not grieve over death. Why? There is no death. Simple. This is the same reason the wise person does not celebrate birth. Why? There is no birth. After telling one answer, the other one should come easily. Okay? Tip for next test, next quiz. So, the wise person doesn't grieve because there is no death. The wise person doesn't celebrate because there is no birth. No celebration, no grief over this very fraught thing in life, which is death. That death is for what? Nama Rupa, the body, mind, sense complex. Atma does not die, and this is what is going to be. This is the vision of the Gita and the Upanishads. And here is a vision being given from a very personally, it's a very intimately imparted vision connected to one's own body. My body may go, but I don't go. In other words, the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are, what is that? Tvam pada vichara, an analysis into the word tvam, you. You means what? If I say you, what do you say? I. Into I. What is this I? What is its makeup? Is it subject to death? Is it a karta? Is it a bhokta? Is it a pramata? All these things are going to be talked about at length. Okay, the I is not subject to birth and death, but then this body is subject to birth and death. And so how does this unchanging I live in this, as though in this changing body? And then how do this I, which is a conglomerate of nitya and anitya, that which is here and that which is gone or about to go, how do the two things reside? How does the eternal reside in the non-eternal body? All this is the subject matter for the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. And then, so he says, Yasmat, we already saw this. Gatasun, from whom? Gataha asavaha yasmat. From whom the breath has departed. Gataha asavaha breath. Asu, like guru. Asavaha yasmat gataha, or here he translates as gata pranaha. So gata pranan, from whom the life has departed. And then what else? Agatasun agata pranan. So agatasun means from whom the breath is yet to go. Atmajnaha, the people who are the knowers of the self. Panditaha na anushochanti, they do not grieve over the living people. No, neither do they celebrate the living people, nor do they grieve over the dead people. There is no cause for grief. And so therefore there is absolutely no cause for grief, because everything is them alone. Then he explains one more thing. Panda atma vishaya buddhihi yesham te panditaha. The definition of pandita, we had seen this earlier, but it's nice to do this. So panda means the self, atma vishaya. So the one whose buddhi, whose wisdom is with regard to the correct wisdom with regard to the self is called pandita. And he gives a quote from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Pandityam nirvidya. Nirvidya means having gained the knowledge of the self. Parivrajanti, or whatever they do, they just go away from this life of samsara, this life of family and wanting to fulfill desires, etc. So then further, concluding this verse, he says, Paramarthatah tu nityan ashocyan anushochasi ataha modhaha asi. So this unchanging I, paramarthatah tu, means from the standpoint of the absolute reality, there is nothing that is dying, there is nothing that is to be grieved over. But you are still grieving. What does that mean? You are a very foolish man, Arjuna. So your pandityam, your so-called wisdom has been busted. You are not wise at all. You are a sad and foolish fellow, and in fact, you are sad because you are foolish. If you were wise, you would not be sad at all. And then, next one. Natve vaham jatu nasam natvanne me janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatav param. Introducing this verse, this one says, Kutaha te ashocyaha. So how are these Bhishma, Drona, te means all these people that you are grieving over, why should they not be grieved over? Yataha nityaha, because they don't come to an end. They are there forever. They are there forever. And therefore, Katham, how are they there forever? The 12th verse is going to elaborate. Natu eva aham. So aham jatu na asam. Aham, I, jatu, at any time, na asam. Never was I non-existent at any time. That is the double negative here on purpose. Never was I non-existent at any time, neither you, natvam, neither you, asihi, we have to add, natvam, na asihi, neither you were never not there, because one can argue. Of course, Bhagavan being Avatara, Bhagavan being Bhagavan, you can say, Krishna can say, there was never a time when I was not, because Bhagavan is eternal. But you also, Arjuna, there was never a time you were non-existent. This is really something that is food for thought. We have to sit and think about this really. Think about it. Think about your little life here, okay? Here means not in this ashram, on this earth. Little life. Because if we look at some NASA pictures, we see how little our life is. When you look at big galaxies, even you just one galaxy, our own galaxy, what is its name? Milky Way. And in the Milky Way, it has 6 spiraling arms. And on one of the arms, somewhere there is solar system. Solar system is not even the size of a pixel. And inside there is a sun, the biggest thing. And then there is Jupiter and Venus and Earth and all these things. And where is Earth? Earth doesn't even feature. And then in that Earth, there is one small place, the place of your birth or the place of your residence, from where you hail. And in that small place, there is a small house and or a small hospital where you were born. And then that is how small it is. There is one very nice thing somebody has done. They see this one small scene of a garden, and then they blow it up, and then they make it smaller, and then they see the city, then they see the town, the state, and then they see the earth, then they see the earth in relation to the other planets, then they see the solar system, then they go beyond the solar system, see the space, and so on, and then where you are is gone, really. So therefore, here this is what we think, like, oh, my life is full of problems and my life is so complicated and I have been targeted. This is what people think. That's why I am subject to grief, because I have had a rotten life, I have had a terrible life. But really speaking, when you look at your life, it is really nothing compared to how the whole universe is structured. You don't even feature, let alone your grief. You yourself, in the form of this body, mind, sense complex, are not there here. So, but really speaking, what is the truth behind this grief? Is that you think that you are going to die, you think that your friends and loved ones are subject to death. But the truth is, there was never a time where you were non-existent. There was never a time where I was non-existent. Okay, Arjuna also may be very exalted. So maybe Krishna and Arjuna were never non-existent. But what about the other people? Na ime janadhipaha. Look at the verse. Na ime janadhipaha. Jananam adhipaha. Adhipa means king. Adhipati. So these kings, and not only the kings, but the foot soldiers, everybody, the cavalry, the infantry, the elephantry, all these various units of the army, and all of them are there forever. There was never a time you were non-existent. It really, you have to pause and think about this, because a very radical term, very important and radical term. Then natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha. So, there will not be a time when we will all cease to exist. There will not be the time that we will cease to exist. We will never cease to exist. We will never cease to be. So, in other words, it's all coming to a head to talk about the nature of existence itself, because existence, what is existence? Existence is nothing but the truth of you. The truth of you alone is existence. So there is never a time that you were not. There is never a time these people were not, with reference to the kings, etc. There was never a time with reference to these bodies. They were always there. This is the vision of birth and death in the Bhagavad Gita. Because this is a very radical vision. Because in the ordinary vision, I was born on such and such a date, such and such a place, such and such a time, and then what? Happy birthday to me, and then cake, balloon, candles. Only up to 50 years. After that, everything is downhill. The friends will also start sending cards like that. Are you getting ready to cry because now you are 51? Like these kinds of cards will come. So, there is some kind of a universal maudhyam, a universal foolishness, because of which we have been, in which we have been socialized and which we have apparently picked up. Birth is something wonderful, death is something terrible. That is what we think. But according to the Bhagavad Gita, this concept is not true. Why? There is no birth for the Atma. I can never be born, and the I is not subject to death. But then, oh Krishna, Arjuna can say, we celebrate your birthday. It's next month actually. And then we say you were born in a particular star, Rohini Nakshatra, you were born. We celebrate the birthday. What are you celebrating when you celebrate Krishna's birthday? The birthday of the avatara. In other words, the birthday of the nama and the rupa. And now people are thinking, oh good, this was sounding very depressing up till now. At least I can continue to celebrate my birthday. I just have to add 2 words after happy birthday. What is that? Namarupa. Happy birthday to my Namarupa. That's all I have to add. I can continue to celebrate. Yes, tathastu. You can continue to celebrate. May your whole life be nothing but a celebration. That is my prayer. But if you are serious about this knowledge, this gives food for thought. If I am never born, why will I go through the motions of celebrating something every year which is a non-event? Do we celebrate a non-event? No. The whole idea is funny. You celebrate something that happened. You don't celebrate something that did not happen. What did not happen? Birth. So what is the idea of celebrating something that did not happen? Cake and candles and balloon and everything, all these things. Nothing wrong, but this is something, if you are ready to go here with me, I invite you to come along. This is not a rabbit hole. In fact, that's the rabbit hole. This is coming out of the rabbit hole. This is really looking at it objectively. What is there to celebrate? What is there to advertise? And what is there to count? And so, in fact, people do say after a certain age, don't count your years, count the friends you have. Count your age in friends, not years. You can do that right away. You don't have to wait till a certain age. And this age is also very funny. For the first half of the life, people keep subtracting the age. For a few years, one is permanently 29. And then a decade later, permanently 39. And then always 1 or 2 years, few years you subtract. And then later on, the switch is flipped. This is so funny about birthdays and age, it's so arbitrary. So when you're 75, when a 75-year-old person dares to tell you, guess how old I am. 85? No, I'm only 75. They want you to guess higher. Guess how old I am. You'll never be able to guess. And so like this whole thing is very arbitrary and actually a very shallow untruth, because the more I am stuck on birthdays and celebrating birthdays, you know what happens? That means the body consciousness, I am still wedded to the body consciousness. Body consciousness means that I am wedded to that consciousness, conditioned as though by the body mind sense complex. So that which I don't see the consciousness as though obtaining in this body mind, but it is free of this body mind. The body awareness is very much there. Mind awareness is there. Then why do we celebrate Krishna's birthday? Why do we celebrate Pujya Swamiji's birthday? Because they did not have body consciousness. And their celebrating their birthday helps us to get punya, so that we are able to be in that same mindset that they were in. They did not ask for their birthday to be celebrated. We force and celebrate. It is not for them, it is for us to mark. That's all it is. But really speaking, this is for all of ourselves. We have to look into this. What is this compulsion to celebrate birthday? What is this? What is there? Why is there this need? Not just you. There's no need. I'm not targeting anybody in particular. But as a civilization, what is it, the need that we have? And because the more we keep on thinking birthday, then of course the death day is not very far. The more the birthdays I spend celebrating, the death day is coming closer and closer. Think about that. The celebration turns into a funeral. Very sad. And so that is something I have to think about. And then in addition, I have to see that this so-called celebration, if my happiness is hanging on this celebration, then it is a impossible situation, because I am still connected to this body-mind sense complex as I. And then, so therefore, this is a fantastic verse. We will never be destroyed. I was never destroyed. I am always there. You were always there. And we will not cease to exist. Na bhavishyamaha. We shall not exist in the future. Just amazing, beautiful. And then he goes on to say that does that mean that this Mahabharata war will continue forever because you don't cease to exist? The Kauravas don't cease to exist. They'll be fighting. No. The bodies will perish, but the Atma is one. The Atma is one alone, and then that is the idea here. Let us look at the Bhashya. Natu eva jatu. Jatu means at any time. Kadachit. Aham na asam. It was not that we were not there. Kintu asam eva. Yes, we were indeed there. Atiteshu deha utpatti vinasheshu nityameva aham asam iti abhiprayah. There was never a time I was not there. Meaning what? I was always there. That there were so many in and through the various births, in and through the various birthdays, in and through the various death days, what was the one thing that did not change? I. That same I underwent many birthday celebrations, many death day funerary rites. It's the same I that went in and out of many bodies, and the bodies are called upadhi. Upa samipe sthitva swakiyam dharmam anyatra adatte iti upadhihi. That something which stays close to another thing and then lends its attributes is called upadhi. Like the white color cloth placed in front of a crystal. What does the crystal look like? 3-month course student. Okay. Yeah. And then you put some yellow cloth behind the crystal. What does it look like? We are the Pathashala student. And then you put some orange cloth behind the crystal. What does it look like now? Swami Kristalananda, new Swami in town. So the yellow cloth, white cloth, and then what else? Orange cloth are upadhis for the crystal, which is like the Atma, which is free of any coloration, any shape, any form. Is this now crystal clear? Yeah. Upadhi, this is what upadhi means. Upadhi means this cloth, for example, behind the crystal, upa, closely, samipe, sthitva, staying close to the crystal. What does the orange cloth do? Lends its dharma, lends its attribute. What is its attribute? Orangeness. On to the crystal, which is free of orangeness, it lends the orangeness there. So the orangeness appears to have migrated from the cloth to the crystal without really having done so. So therefore, I have had many births. He is going to tell this in chapter 4. I have had many births, many deaths. So many candles, so many cakes, so many things. How many cakes have I cut? How many celebrations have I had? There is no count of that. And how many deaths I have had? No counts of that. Why? Because it is that I alone who have gone through many, many colorations, many, many bodies. I have always existed. In the same way, tatha, bottom of page, 49. Yeah. Tatha natvam na asihi. Asihi we have to supply. Na asihi. You also were never not there. Tatha na ime janadhipaha. Neither these kings were also there was never a time where they did not exist. Yes, they too always existed. Tatha nacha eva na bhavishyamaha. Tatha, in the same manner, a time where we will not be will never arise. Because even when the body perishes, even when the cloth perishes, the crystal continues or not? Yes, crystal continues, the cloth has gone. In this life it was a brahmachari, in the next life it was a Veda Pathashala student, in the third life it was a Swami, and then the cloth keeps on changing, but the crystal is one and the same. It is not at all separate. And then so, bhavishyama eva, we will continue to be there. Asmat deha vinashat param उत्तरकाले अपि त्रिषु अपि कालेषु नित्या आत्मरूपत्वेन नित्याः आत्मरूपत्वेन. So we will in all 3 periods of time regardless of whether there is a body or whether there is not a body, after the perishing of the body, what will happen? We will still continue to be there. And then he says, who is this we? All of us. Who is this all of us? Who is there in the battlefield? Krishna, Arjuna, and the armies on both the sides. And then here a doubt can come. Oh no, so many Atmas. I am Atma, he is Atma, this one's Atma, she is Atma, that one's Atma, that one's son is also Atma, that one's daughter is also Atma. How many Atmas? One. But here that because of the confusion of the bodies and every body having Atma, we would make the pitfall, we would make the mistake of thinking what? All of them are many, many Atmas. This is what Nayayikas think. This is what so many people in the Jain tradition think, that there are many Atmas. Some Sankhya people also think that many Atmas. So therefore, he says, Adi Shankara concluding this verse, he says, Deha Bheda Anuvritya concerning what? Deha Bheda. From the standpoint of the body, concerning the standpoint of the body, Bahuvachanam, the plural we is used. We is used only from the standpoint of the bodies. Na Atma Bheda Abhiprayena, not from the standpoint of the I. From the standpoint of the I, how many eyes? One. From the standpoint of the body, many, many bodies. Tatra katham iva nitya atma. Nityaha Atma iti drishtantam aha. How to understand this I as always there? The explanation is given in the form of an example in verse 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe Kaumarai yauvananjara Tatha dehantara praptihi Dhirastatra na muhyati. So, Dehinaha asmin dehe. So, who is this Dehin? Deha means what? Body. In means in. Okay. So, one who is in the body is called Dehin. This is the nice way to understand in English. So, if you want to understand in Sanskrit, it's a little more complicated. There is a pratyaya called ini. And that in, what happens? Deha asya asti. Actually, that in is matup, but we won't go there. So, deha asya asti iti dehin. For our purposes, we can just take it as the one who is in the body, in the deha, called dehin. So, deha asya asti, the one who is the possessor of the body, deha asya asti dehin. Tasya dehina. So, this is we will do the Bhashya later. So, the one who has a body is called dehin. So, asmin, in this body, yatha, there are certain changes in this body. Yatha, in which manner we have childhood, one change. Youth, one change. Old age, another change. So, one person brought to me a photograph, this 80-year-old man brought to me a blurry photograph of a small baby and said, "This is me. This is me when I was 2 months old." And I looked at it and I quickly said, I could see the similarity. Even at that time you had no hair and no teeth. Now also. No hair, no teeth. So, but what is this? What is this? Have we ever thought of? When we see a photograph of oneself as a child, what is it that I can say with complete certainty? This is me. At that time, what were you? 2 years old. You were talking in a lisp. You were not able to walk properly. You were not able to talk properly. How can you say that was me? I know that is me. It resonates. And yes, maybe the mother said, this is your photo, but still it resonates. There is some way in which I am connected to that. My childhood memories resonate. I can imagine bashing up another young child. I can also imagine being bashed up the very next day. I can imagine not wanting to share my toys. I can imagine doing something, falling off a tree after having climbed it and after being told not to climb trees, climbing the tree and falling off it promptly. I can imagine. That was me. And sometimes regret is also there. Oh, I was so spontaneous. How wonderful I was. How happy I was. Those were the days. Look at me now. I'm a shadow of myself. So that is Kaumaram. Kaumaram means childhood. Childhood becomes delightful from the standpoint of youth. Youth means there will be lots of cares. The youth has to go to college, do homework, hide the cell phone from the parents. So stressful all these activities are. So that the mother and the father don't see the call log and don't see how long I have spoken to whom. So very stressful these activities are. So youth means I'm looking at the childhood and thinking, what a carefree time that was. I could do this, I could do that. Nobody would tell me anything. I could go to the neighbor's tree and steal all the mangoes and nobody said anything. They said, oh, it's a small child, let it go. I could do all kinds of things. Now if I even go there, immediately they'll put me in jail. The young adult thinks. And then we wait. And then what? Old age hits. Even before you know it, old age hits. And then the youth starts to look very good. Oh, those were the days. Why? Because the childhood, it's a little difficult to remember at this point. So the youth is remembered. Oh, those were the days, how strong I was, how wonderful I was, what all I accomplished, and how my memory was. OMG, now I can't remember whether I was, when I find myself in a room, I don't know whether I was going out or coming in the room. I don't know. When I find myself in the middle of a staircase, I don't know whether I was going up or whether I was coming down. This is my situation, that sharpness and everything. I should have studied Vedanta in my youth, but alas, I have come to Vedanta now. What is the use? But still, whose youth it is? My youth, my childhood, my old age. And then there are so many changes. And in and through the changes, what is changeless is my awareness that this body has changed through childhood, youth, midlife crisis, old age. It has changed. What has not changed? I am the same. In that body also, who was it in the child's body? Me. I was the Dehin. I am the Dehin because I am inside the Deha. And in the youth body, who is there? I am there. In the old age body, who is there? I am there. If this much is understood, then the rest of it is a piece of cake. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Dehantara means anya deha. Anya deha, anya dehasya prapti. In the same way, a new body is gained for the same I that has gone through various stages in this body itself. So, in the same way, another body is gained. What is there to grieve over? The one of knowledge, dhiraha namuhyati, does not grieve. Or we'll see later. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari